Yeah, we're excited to get things going here again. I know our guys are ready to get a game in. They've been ready to get a game in, and it's been a long process here over the last few weeks dealing with all the COVID-19 protocols, whether it was us or whether it was other teams. Again, things are going to happen. Interruptions are going to happen. We knew that kind of going into this season, and we've been able to practice now here for this week, which has been really good for us to kind of get our rhythm back, get our guys back in shape. Like I said, man, we are really excited to get out there and play on Saturday against Butler.
Hey, Travis. Wondering, will you still have any players in COVID-19 protocol for this game?
We will, yeah. We'll still have. We won't be at full strength, but we'll be close.
Next question. Tim?
Oh, sorry. So, Travis, you mentioned kind of the length in this situation like this. Going into a situation, going to Hinkle and playing in Butler, somewhere you're familiar with, what is something you kind of really jumps out with this team? I know they're not the same team as years past. Had some close losses so far, but you've mentioned quite a bit how tough the Big East is. What do you look for in a game for your team going against a team like Butler in such a very well-known hostile environment?
Yeah, Tim, I think they're different than they have been in a way offensively. Defensively, they're very similar. They're going to play really, really slow. I mean, they play at one of the slowest paces in the entire country, and they want it to be a half-court, grinded-out basketball game, right? And like they beat Creighton, whatever it was, a little over a week ago, and Creighton's obviously one of the more up-tempo teams in the country and in our league. I thought Butler controlled the tempo of the game, and that's advantage Butler when it can be in the possessions or in the low 60s. That's how they want it. But they're not going to beat themselves. They're going to be tough. They're going to be disciplined. Coach Jordan's doing a great job with the group. He's got a lot of young guys. But it's going to come down to me, like in a game like this, it comes down to it's a game of discipline. You can't waste possessions. You can't turn the ball over against Butler. You got to take great shots. And then you have to, on the other end, understand like who personnel is. I mean, they have some really good players. I mean, Bolden is a tremendous shooter for them. One of the better shooters in our league. He's a grad transfer from South Carolina, who's had a big impact on their team. Aaron Thompson's obviously back for it seems like his 10th year. He's a tremendous point guard. I mean, he makes their whole thing go, and he's done that for years. Just his experience, and he's a tremendous defender. So again, we got our hands full, but it's going to come down to who's going to be more disciplined. And then I think at the same time, who's going to be willing to make those winning plays, those toughness plays that usually decide who wins this game at the end of the day.
And then last we talked, you had mentioned Deontay Miles is pretty close to being healthy. Will you have him available for Butler?
I will. I'm glad you asked about it, Tim. He is healthy. He's good to go. He's had 4 really good practices this week. He's actually leading our Xavier way in points. And he's been terrific. He's exceeded my expectations for just coming back. So I would think he's definitely going to be playing against Butler, and excited to see what he can bring to our team.
Next question, Adam.
Coach, this was your second kind of stint in quarantine this season. And I know the first time you guys were stuck in it, you kind of had a few creative ways to come up with to keep guys engaged, keep them together. Did anything like that arise this time? Did any guys have any fun or creative ways to kind of pass the time when you're all separated?
Yeah, like we would all watch the Big East games at night. We just have banter kind of going on our group chat. That kind of kept those guys engaged at least. Again, continue to know our opponents, even though we didn't know who the heck we were going to be playing next, right? As games kept on getting postponed there. But that was a way for us to, again, keep our guys engaged as much as possible, during the quarantine. Obviously, our guys want to be out there playing, because it can get depressing, like when you're watching all these other games going on in college basketball, man, it's like, man, why aren't we out there, right? We want to be playing. But, again, we've got to control the controllables, and we're just going to be fortunate to be out there, hopefully be able to play against Butler on Saturday at 5, whatever it is, 5 or 5:30 p.m.
You mentioned, it can be a little bit depressing. When you're having conversations with your guys in that setting, do you try to keep it light and fun, or are there times when those conversations take on a more serious tone depending on the situation?
I think it depends on the situation. I think, again, we want to have fun. We want to have fun with it. We want to keep it light. But sometimes it's something you can tell when guys are, certain guys are struggling more than others, just where they are in life, whether it's through quarantine or whatever it is, right? We want to, we're a family. We can read each other pretty well. So I think it just depends on the situation.
Next question. Andy? Andy Mack, I think you have to unmute.
Is that all right, Tommy? Hello?
I can hear you now, Andy.
Sorry, Travis. CJ Wilcox had a pretty good game against Providence a few weeks ago. He's a bigger guard, a bigger wing, a good long-range shooter. Will he have an appropriate role or a bigger role against a team like Butler with sort of smaller guards?
I think so. I see CJ kind of growing his role, Andy, on our team. He's a freshman. He seems like he's been in quarantine a lot, through contact tracing and COVID protocols this season so far. And he hasn't had the easiest start for a freshman. It's hard being a freshman in college basketball in general, right? Especially when you're in quarantine as much as he's been. And he's been able to work. He's a smart kid. He sees the game really, really well. He shoots the ball really well. Plays hard. He plays to win. He's a winner. He's just got that energy about him, and he's that way every single day. In practice, games, whether he was playing minutes or not playing minutes, he's the same guy, and I think that's really, really hard to do, especially with everything that's kind of going on in the world. And I think CJ will continue to grow his role on this team, regardless if it's against Butler or whoever it is, because he has an ability to shoot the ball. He has an ability to make guys better. He's a leader, even though he's a freshman. You can always hear his voice at our practice every single day.
Next question, Adam.
I think the last time we talked after that Providence game, Keke Tanner missed a practice with an injury. Is everything back to normal with him? Is he back practicing now?
He is back practicing. He was out there for a little while, but he is back now, though, full go. And he's been practicing really hard.
Any other questions for Coach? Go ahead, Adam.
I think a lot has been made of the schedule and sort of the amount of time that you guys have left to get all these games in. Has the Big East given you any indication that there could be an opportunity to maybe add a non-conference game here and there? Is that something that you guys would entertain or even a possibility at this point?
Yeah, Adam, I think obviously the schedule has been wacky, right? I mean, obviously with us having COVID-19 protocols, other schools having them as well. I'm not a mathematician, but it's going to be hard for us to get all 20 league games in. I think that's going to be very difficult. The Big East is working hard. Again, it's happened not only in our league, it's all across the country, right? I mean, we're all dealing with the same stuff. And, I think, again, just being very transparent. I mean, teams got to play when they're healthy. And if there are COVID issues, and there's going to be more COVID issues moving forward with either us or other teams, stuff's going to happen. We'll deal with it. I think they're open to having some non-conference games. If we can fit them in. The Big East will try to, like, if we all of a sudden lose a game a Big East opponent. They'll try to give us another Big East opponent if we can, if it can work. But again, it's more difficult than it looks. So Stu Jackson, Val Ackerman's job is a lot more difficult than it appears. So, but they're working around the clock trying to navigate these trying times with COVID-19.
Next question, Joe.
Kind of piggybacking off that schedule question, if they do give you more Big East games, just to try to squeeze as many as possible, as I'm sure they will, is there any chance that you guys will have to play, say, 4 games in a week towards the end of the conference slate?
I think you can. I think if we have to get creative, we have to get creative. I mean, we'll fit in as many games as we possibly can. Especially, we're behind. We've played 5 Big East games. Like last night I was watching I think it was DePaul St. John's game was on the TV in the background as I was watching film on Butler, and the standings kind of popped up there. And it's like, man, you see, I forget how many games Creighton and Seton Hall, maybe it's double digits, Big East games. We've had 5. We've had 5 Big East games, and it's incredible. I mean, but again, it is what it is, and again, we want to put ourselves in a good position to have success here down the stretch. We'll do whatever it takes on our end. If we're healthy, we will absolutely play.
Next question, Adam.
Saturday will be 20 days since you guys played your last game. And for a while of that streak, I think it was 9 days or something, you guys couldn't even really practice. What level of rust are you guys dealing with? Are you pleased with sort of the way you guys have reintegrated and sort of ramped things back up here? Where are you at in that process right now?
Yeah, it's a good question, Adam. You can't. It's hard to simulate a game. It is. But we've been trying to get our guys, number one, in shape, game shape. Number 2, trying to get our rhythm back offensively, which I feel like we've been pretty good offensively in practice. We got to get better defensively, and I don't think we are. We're not where we need to be, where I want us to be, for us to have success in this league. And again, I've said this before, but any team in our league can beat anybody, right? And that's been proven. I mean, you just look around our league; everybody's good, everybody. And we got to get our defense back, we got to get it better. We got to be at least bare minimum a top 50 defensive team in the country for us to have a chance to reach the goals that we have. And our habits aren't there. We're getting them there. We're working hard. But it starts with that mentality. We can't just outscore teams, because that's what happened coming out of the first quarantine. If you remember, it was like, man, we played Marquette, played really well offensively, shot the ball well. It's the same thing we did in practice those 2 days leading up to Marquette, but our defense stunk. I mean, absolutely stunk. And hopefully, again, we can't have that against Butler. We can't. I mean, because if you do, it's going to be a 63 possession game. If you have an off shooting night, man, you're going to be in for a long game against Butler. So we got to be much better on the defensive end.
One last question for Coach. Adam?
I know you guys have had to do this dance a couple times now, but can you explain what it's like, the environment when you guys get the green light to start practicing again and to all be together in the same room? I can imagine that's a fun, energetic setting when sort of the veil gets lifted and you guys can reunite.
Absolutely. Like when all of a sudden you're in quarantine, you get out of there and you get some fresh air and able to kind of interact with your teammates and your brothers and your family members, man, it's awesome, right? There's that feel of hope again, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel for our guys. So words probably don't really describe it. And and Adam, and this is probably, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent, but there's people out there say, oh, well, they shouldn't be having a season. We're in the middle of a pandemic, all this stuff. Our guys want to play. Let's make that loud and clear. If you polled any college basketball player or anybody that's ever competed in sports, ever, right, ever, if you give them the option, hey, Do you want to play or do you not want to play? They are playing. If you're a competitor, you absolutely want to play. And, so for me, it's like, man, again, we're fortunate, and our guys know it. We've been through this a couple different times, and it stinks, but it is what it is. And the way I look at it, Adam, honestly, this whole thing, is you could say, hey, well, maybe we're going to have fresh legs, right? If you want to look at a glass half full. People talk about rust. People talk about throwing you out of rhythm. I could say, hey, we're going to be maybe a little bit more fresh than the other team. So, again, our guys are excited. We're excited to get out here and play and wear that Xavier uniform and represent Xavier University in the right way on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Casey.